just by saying, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. It's a quote by Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of this time. I think that's something that I've only been trading for 3 years, but over the past 3 years, um, I've seen plenty of situations where taking that advice, taking heed to that advice, would be very, very profitable. So right now, today, we're just gonna go over a few stocks, some of the top stocks in the market, S&P 500. Some of those top companies that make up that ETF, um, and then just looking at the performance of that ETF in general. So let me see. Do I want to start? Let's start with the individual stocks. Some of the top stocks. We'll go over Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon, Google. Um, some tech stocks. I guess we can maybe look at Meta, Facebook, Apple. I don't know. If I think of another one, we might check it out. But let's talk about the current state of the market, where things at right now. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Let me see if I can share my screen. Let's see. All right, cool. So this is the spot. We'll come back to the spot. Go to Tesla. You can see Tesla is doing well. Elon, man, shout out to you. One of the greatest business leaders of this century. One of the greatest thinkers and innovators, and just like business leaders. I got a lot of respect for Elon and the work that he's done, to get where he is and get Tesla and SpaceX and all of that where it is today. Took a lot of risk. Gotta admire a man that has the courage to believe in his dream, or at least try to fulfill his dream, even though he's not 100% sure that he's gonna be successful at it. But having that courage to try, how can you not respect a man um, for that, right? So yeah, I got a lot of respect for Elon just as a man and as a leader, a business leader, innovator, scientist. Um, so let's see here. I'm seeing, okay. So in our main indicators that I use are volume, RSI, MACD. Not going to go into a long lecture on how to use those indicators. Um, as there's a lot of different sources out there. If you really want to learn, teach yourself like I did through reading, trial and error, etc. Mentorship, whatever, right? A lot of different ways you can learn, but I had to pay the price to know what I know. I'm not giving the game away for free. Looking at what I'm looking at, knowing what I know, um, I mean, this looks like. I mean, I also use chart patterns as an indicator, right? Uh, Patterns. you find patterns within the RSI, patterns within the MACD, patterns within the volume, and as well as pattern within the chart structure, as well as patterns within price action. Right? Those are all things. Like, again, I'm just guiding you, giving you the key definitions, and you go do your own research and learn more about these variables that you can use to optimize your efficiency as a trader, maximize your profits and minimize your losses. So, just looking at what I'm looking at, I mean, Tesla's had a hell of a run since, the whole market in general, especially in the tech sector, has had a hell of a run since last October, really the first of the year, January 1st. We're now a little bit over halfway through the year. You see Tesla on this chart, its low was around $100. I believe it says 101.81. Excuse me. You can see it's currently trading at 282. Hell of a gain. That's 180%, roughly 180% gain in 6 months on a stock. That's pretty insane. That's pretty insane. I mean, if you've been around for a couple years, few years, or longer, then that was a 2022. Last year was a real bear market. Stocks had a steep decline. So, we could, if you study the history of the market and everything, just due to how it typically works, we expected a rebound of some sort. And also, there were other indicators, you could have been aware of to suggest that there was potentially going to be a nice little recovery here over this period of time. I noticed some patterns on the RSI back in October, actually. And I was telling people, hey, man, and it was so much fear, right? I prefaced the video talking about being fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. So much fear back in October, last part of last year, around November, December, first of this year. So much fear. So much fear. Everybody was talking about the market's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's over with. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, you got Tesla down here at 100. You got Amazon down at 80. You had Facebook down at like 100. I'm like, how much lower can it go? Is everything gonna go to zero? Like, I don't see that happening. Like, people still going to work. These companies are still operating and doing business, right? So although some of them are not as profitable as others, and we'll get to that here soon, but these people still going to work. People still making money. Like, the economy's still going, right? Maybe not as not at as fast as pace, or there's not as much growth as possible. I can see there being a little stagnation. But I mean, again, had that not already been priced in when you're seeing over 50% declines in stock prices of some of the biggest companies within the market? So yeah, it was just a whole lot of fear. That was one thing that got me like, oh, okay, maybe it's time to start buying and getting greedy, right? But then, in addition to that, the market sentiment from just everyday retail investors, that was just, again, chart patterns, and patterns on my other indicators, RSI, MACD, volume, all of that, right? So, just again looking at this, I'm seeing some bearish divergence. If you don't know what that is, another term you can look up. Seeing some bearish divergence right here with Tesla. I could honestly see it pulling back a little bit, but I'm also seeing an inverse head and shoulder type of pattern here. So I think Tesla could probably have a brief retracement, but with Elon at the helm, running that ship. I mean, Tesla is in a league of its own. There's not another Tesla out here. I mean, you can compare Walmart to Target and Kroger or whatever it is, other competitor in that area, Whole Foods or whatever. I don't know. I'm from Arkansas. You know, Walmart it's an Arkansas-based company. Headquarters headquarters are in Arkansas, so whenever I typically go to a grocery store, whatever you want to call it, that type of store, it sells a lot of different items, household items. Can't even think of the name right now, but a retail store, whatever, right? Walmart, it has other competitors that try to sell similar products and offer similar services, right? Tesla, not so much. Not so much. There are other electric vehicle makers, but Tesla's on a whole another level, right? It's like they have unique features and services that come with their vehicles and just everything that they do. It's like a league of its own, right? So it's kind of hard to compare Tesla to anything. If you know the history of Tesla stock, it can get pretty volatile. Um, but I mean, it's been doing good this past year. However, I do see potential for it to come back or have a little retracement here. I think that would be healthy, a healthy retracement. Ooh, 220 is it's kind of steep, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, everything has just had a had a large recovery here over the past 6 7 months, and again with that whole being fearful when others are greedy and when others are fearful mentality. There's been a lot of buying right now, and I mean the economy, inflation is still high, right? Um, they claim that the banking system is secure, more secure, but I mean they said everything was fine in 2007, and we know what happened in 2008. So it's something to think about. Something to think about. Again, in addition to that, I'm seeing bearish divergence. Do your research on what bearish divergence is, what it means, and how that might apply to the Tesla chart. Let's move on. Don't It's enough time on Tesla. Let's go to Apple. Apple's been going crazy this year. Um, hey, Apple is actually a little red today, right? So Apple has been going crazy this year. It's it was down as low as one. What's this 124, and it's all the way up to 174. That's over 50% gain since January 1st of the year. All time highs, like literally all time highs. This price right here is as high as it's ever been in the history of trading Apple. Um, it seems like a lot of greed right now. It seems like people are being real greedy when it comes to Apple. Right, might be a time to take some profits and be a little fearful, or at least if you're going long on it, you want to hold your stocks for another 5 10 years. You might want to buy you some put options right around now. Market's kind of overextended. If that's whether the economy is healthy enough to justify these current prices, I'm not really convinced. Whether there's enough stability, economic stability, to justify these current prices, I'm not convinced. So, um, bearish divergence also showing up on this chart. So that's a maximum chart. Let's go to a little lower time frame. See if we can see anything. So over the past year, I mean, Apple has been it's been going crazy, man. It's had a nice run, and this is again at all time highs. This is probably current prices as high as it's ever been. So I think that's a sign of greed. I'm not really seeing as much bearish divergence on this chart, at least not this 1 year, 1 day chart. But I mean, I am seeing that the RSI is pretty high in overbought territory. So do your research. Microsoft. Let's see what's going on here. Short trading day, so I'm not doing too much. I'm just kind of sitting back watching, trying to develop me a long term or like at least a short to mid term type strategy. I'm an options trader. I don't have the capital that I want to invest in stocks right now. From my knowledge and experience, I feel like you need $100,000 or more saved that you don't plan on touching or using before you should think about investing in stocks, because these 180, 150, or 180 to 50% gains on big stocks and companies over 6, 7 months. That's not something that you typically see. Those are I'm looking at these chart prices. I mean, at these stock prices. Those are gains that you see over years, and we've seen those type of gains in months. I mean, don't get me wrong. We saw losses. We saw losses that used to take years to accrue, but they happen just in a short amount of time, past year, you know. So, I mean, since 2020 and that whole little COVID crash, I feel like the market has been doing some weird things. There's been a lot of volatility, that's the term that they use. Um, and just listening, learning from people that have been around longer than I have. It's kind of volatility and don't want to use the term manipulation, but just propping up of the market, overextending of the markets and bull runs can kind of go all the way back to probably 2000, 2001 dot-com bubble, and for sure 2008 with the bank bailouts. So, uh, it's something else you have to go do your research on. There's a lot of variables at play here in the market and the future direction of the market. Too many to discuss in this video. Too valuable of information for me to go away in this video, honestly. So I don't know. You know, I can for one-on-one consultations. Maybe you can just do your own research. That's gonna probably be your best bet. But let's go to another stock. We've looked at Apple, Tesla, Microsoft. Let's look at Google and Amazon. Google's had a nice little recovery from its October lows, November lows. Um, Pretty much around this first of the year lows. It was around the same price back then in the 80s. Now it's up to around 120 right now. It was recently up to as high as 130. So Google has had a pretty decent little pullback, and I think it might be ready to go for another run. But you can see it was some consolidation down here in this range. Kind of double, triple bottom type of setup. So some bullish divergence on your RSI was taking place on the daily. So all of these things came together to indicate that there was probably going to be a reversal to the upside after coming out of that 2022 down year. Again, Google, I think they're incorporating AI. Um, well, I mean, I know they're incorporating AI. I'm trying to think, is it Google or Microsoft that is using or partnering with Chat GPT? I think it might be Microsoft and Bing. It might have been partnered with Chat GPT, but I know like AI is it's pretty big in the tech industry now. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Um, Nothing's really standing out to me on this Google chart right now. Let's go take a look at Amazon real quick. I mean, it's a short trading day, so I don't want to do too much trading. But if I can find me a setup that I like, I'm gonna go ahead and make a move, take a little risk. So here we have Amazon. Um, you can see it reached a low of $81, like I mentioned. People were like freaking out, so fearful. First of the year, talking about the market's about to crash, and I'm like, bro, Amazon was at like 160, 180 in 2022, and now it's at $80. And you think the market is going to crash? Looks like it already crashed to me. um, you're right. So it's like, what? Where y'all at, bro? Like, what? You missed out on the crash. um, so I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's still some fear in the market. I think I mean, I know there's a lot more greed. We can go and look at the fear and greed index, and it'll show you that there's clearly a lot of greed in the market right now. I mean, we had that brief little coolback, that cool down period from when the spy ran from 144 back down to like 132. That's a 12 point $12 cool off in a bull market. Like we've been, obviously, if you can't tell by looking at these past few stocks, we've been in a bull market and an uptrend since January. So from 81 to 131, that's greater than the 50% recovery profit. Like you could have bought stock, could have spent $100,000 on stock and been up over $50,000 profit. Could have been sitting at 150,000, 160,000 right now. Uh, that's why I say you need 100. You need 100K to invest in stocks because these gains right here are not normal. But you know what I'm saying? Even with these not being normal gains, it still would have taken you 6, 7 months to see 50K profit. On the other hand, when you trade options, you can see 50K in a month. You see 50K in a day. I mean, if you got the right strategy, all you need is $5,000 to $10,000 that you can afford to risk. So that's why I typically trade options. Till I can save up a little bit more capital and find it profitable to trade stocks and short stocks or whatever. But I'm gonna stick to the options for now. It's good to understand stocks and fundamental analysis and how earnings and news and news catalysts and things like that, the development of new products and technology, how that can influence the stock price. But from my experience, what I've learned, like technical analysis, understanding the chart patterns and like these indicators, volume, price action, RSI, MACD, understanding those indicators and technical analysis will be just as, if not more, beneficial than learning fundamental analysis and understanding the company's financials and all of that. Another interesting thing, I'm buying puts on Amazon. Let's go ahead and put that out there. Uh, I've actually been looking at fundamental analysis on Amazon as well as technical analysis. As far as technical analysis goes, I'm seeing bearish divergence forming on the chart pattern or different indicators. In addition to the bearish divergence that I'm seeing forming, the company wasn't profitable last year. Had a bad earnings report. I mean, it beat earnings expectations in April. Not so much in February. So, I think the last I read, the company wasn't profitable. Its price to earnings ratio was not good. It's ridiculously high now that the company had reported negative earnings. It wasn't a profitable company. Jeff Bezos recently stepped down. He's no longer the CEO of Amazon. And I recently saw where an insider sold 1,000 shares of Amazon. They have earnings coming up later this month. With all of these catalysts, as far as, like I said, again, indicators, chart patterns, insider selling, poor management, not hasn't recently been a profitable company. I can see the stock price coming down here in the near future. So you might want to take some profits if you plan on going long, holding it for another 5 and 10 years, hoping that it turns things around and becomes a more profitable company. And seems like a toxic workplace environment. A lot of unhappy workers there. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out over the next couple months or so. Really over the next few years, it's gonna be interesting to see what develops there with Amazon. So let's move on to the SPY, SPY. So SPY is again. Why is 430? Okay, I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. It hit 430 today. Let me see this. Okay, this was it hit 430 last Friday. Okay, makes sense. All right, so SPY. Spy with my little eye. check out the spot. I don't know, man. Everything has had a hell of a run since the beginning of the year. 1st of January, spot started back around 360, 370. It's worked its way up. I mean, it's literally worked its way up to where it is now. You can see there was a lot of consolidation, a lot of trading accumulation in this range. Um, I mean, it looks like healthy growth. Looks like healthy growth, even though there's, it's grown a considerable amount, significant amount since, again, like I was talking about back in October. Look at these patterns I had drawn up. Look at this trend line and how well SPY has been holding to this trend line. Um, wow, pretty crazy, right? So again, I can see this coming back down and test this trend line 428, 425, 430 ish, coming back in this range. I can see that. Um, that's something I might want to keep an eye on. But I mean, I could also see it pushing up to this range, this 450 range, before it finally comes back and tests this trend line. And until it breaks below this trend line, it's still in a bullish uptrend, man. Like the market in general is still in a bullish uptrend. Not to say that there's not bearish divergence forming on the RSI. It's not to say that uh, this thing won't come back down up under this trend line, and you know even come as low as 360 again. That's not out the question. But let me see. Oh, excuse me. Today looks like it's gonna be a real third beta burner day. So I'm probably gonna sit on the sidelines. I swung some trades from Friday to today, closing for a small profit, like $40 or something. Nothing major. But I mean, I didn't really have to exert much physical effort. Sitting in front of my computer or on my phone and hitting buy and sell and timing it right, of course. Uh, didn't have to deal with any attitudes and fake people. I enjoy that freedom, that luxury a lot, a lot, a lot. Um, there's two types of people in this world. You got bosses, you know, owners, investors, producers, and then you have employees and just consumers. Can't have one without the other, right? We need both types of people. Me personally, I'd rather be a boss, an owner, a producer, an investor. But to each his own. I respect everybody. as a human, I give everybody the same level of respect, regardless of status, title, bank account. I give everybody respect until you give me a reason to not respect you, and I'm still gonna respect you. I just won't. Actually, I won't. I always love people, but there's some people, it's because of choices and decisions that they make, and I'll probably never respect them. Um, but still, as far as dealing with it, so therefore, I don't deal with those people at all. I don't allow them in my personal close circle, right? But if I still treat everyone with respect. I'm a respectful person. I spent 10 months in prison. Uh, and that's, you want to make it through prison, you want to make it through life, period. But especially in prison, you better learn and know how to treat all people with respect. And you know, that's a skill. That's a character trait. I don't want to say a skill. It's a character trait. Um, that you can't put a price tag on, right? Some people let a little money and title or whatever go to the head, and the good book says pride goes before destruction and the Holy Spirit before a fall. They might be up for the time being, but it won't last long. Uh, only only the real gonna last. Only the real gonna last. So that's that. Think about which type of person you want to be. To each his own, right? We all got a choice. We all can choose. Some of the products I wanted to be a producer, making plastics, deriving or synthesizing cellulose and nanocellulose, extracting it and synthesizing it from different biomass sources, hardwood, softwood, um, plants and all of that. So we're not going to talk about all of the potential applications of that technology, that science. Uh, you'll see it when you see it. But that's that. That's that. That's my little knowledge sharing for my little knowledge sharing moment for the day. Um, make sure there's nothing I'm missing. That's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts on the current conditions of the market. Again, if you want to be a successful trader, you want to get into investing long term. Let me give you some resources real quick. Some of the top people I follow: Launch Capital, ROENSCH, Lee, Launch, ROENCHE, Launch Capital, TMI Live, the mask investor, like the mask we all, or most people, I ain't gonna say we are, because some of us was out here raw dogging it, but like COVID mask, MASK, mask investor, also known as TMI. Great trader, Penny Boys. That's a trading group. It's Penny Boys, BOIS, I believe. Just search them. They have a Discord group. They have a YouTube channel. Keenan Grace. Can't overlook or forget about Keenan Grace. I haven't joined his Discord. Don't know much about it. I have watched several of his YouTube videos. Great energy. Seems pretty knowledgeable from what I know about trading and investing, and from what I've heard him discuss. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. And Boyce Watkins, Dr. Boyce Watkins, he has a PhD in finance. I think I don't need to say much more than that. He has a PhD in finance, so he's pretty knowledgeable about finance and the market. So um, he's a black man, and he doesn't hide that fact. He's trying to use his knowledge of financial education, financial literacy to improve the conditions of the black community. And I'm all for that. If you're not, then you probably don't want to follow him. Okay, so let me leave that at that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Y'all be blessed. Stay safe for the fourth. Don't drink too much. Don't smoke too much. Yeah, be blessed. Peace.